Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let's Talk Ghosts. I am your host, SunRaye, of course. So this episode, I have some Reddit stories, and I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. So this first one is from an Edward, and he says, so this happened in August of 2019. I was 16 at the time visiting my city in Romania called Slobozia in the Lolomita County. Back then I had a girlfriend called Romelia. Beautiful name. This story happened when me and Romelia decided to find a good fireplace for a campfire in the forest close to my city. We found one. This happened around 4 p.m. As we collected the wood to prepare the campfire place for the night, we heard little girl cries. I told her to wait there, and I started running towards the sound, but nothing. You could see through the forest as it wasn't that dense, and the trees were not close to each other. I find my way to the bridge so I can have a view of the river and also a view of half the forest, but the girl was nowhere to be found. We put the blame on the birds and walked back to her house to change for warmer clothes for the night as the bridge was really windy. Me and Romelia and her sister Alexandra joined us with my friend Mose. He liked her a lot. We traveled through the city, past the city border road, and into the starting point. There passes a train to get to the other city, and on that bridge there's also a small pathway next to the rail, but not spacious enough to not be hit by the train, so they put refugee areas. They are small boxes on each side that are a bit outside of the bridge so you won't be hit. Got a picture for you right here. Me and Romelia decided to go on the bridge refugee area and watch the stars and leave Alexandria and Moise alone to hopefully kiss. As we started to chill there, we heard footsteps on the bridge, but no one was there. I started to hear the train, and I called my friend to warn him. He said he was not on the bridge. This is becoming weird as I couldn't see the train light, and you can always see it when you hear it. I look at the time and it was close to midnight and the wolves started to howl. I said to Romelia, let's go back. And as we go back, I look down to see a white figure with black eyes looking at me. It looked like a girl in a wedding dress. I pointed at it and Romelia saw it as well. At this point, I went on full on sprint with me pushing my girlfriend forward. I remembered how my grandma told me, Edward, if you ever see a ghost, do the Holy Cross with your tongue and mouth closed. Because if you do it with your hand, they will jump on you. So I did the Holy Cross twice, and I got very dizzy when I tried to do the third cross. I almost passed out, but we managed to get back at the starting of the bridge. We never spoke of it again. In this forest, people usually commit suicide by jumping from the bridge. I also saw weird lights above the forest, which no one can explain. You can see them in this picture, the ones close together in the dark on the right. Middle of the photo. Here's the photo now. Thank you, Edward. I really appreciate that story. This next one is from Ross Big Musa. He's a Reddit user. And he says, I've got loads as the house I grew up in was certainly haunted. Here's a few examples. A bit of the background. The property is a mid-Torrance ex-council house in Lincolnshire, and I think it was built maybe around the 60s or 70s. The ex-owner died there, maybe his wife too, but he definitely did. Heart attack, I think. Me and my mom moved in. I was around 5 at the time as I was in primary school. First thing that happened is we were sitting in the living room and we heard footsteps on the wooden floors upstairs. We followed the steps with our eyes and traced them right through a bedroom. We would hear pots and pans crashing in the kitchen only to find them neatly stacked in the cupboard and seeing shadow people out of the corner of your eyes. My mom used her mobile phone to film the living room and she asked, is anyone there? Just for fun really, just to see what happened. We listened back and a voice said, I'm waiting for you. I saw a woman walk across the landing and into my mom's room. I also seen a man floating in my doorway drinking from a metal tankard. And then something was using our keyboard to our PC when we were all in bed. and items knocked off shelves. One time, a lid sounded like it was flicked off the shelf right above my head. My mom and uncle seen this. Any explanation welcome. They were in the back garden, and a golden orb, which had what looked like tiny wings and a tail, slowly flew and floated across the garden, from right to left. And then it looked like it bumped into an invisible wall. It fizzed and then vanished. My explanation, granted, I don't know 100% because I wasn't there and didn't see it, and it all really depends on what you believe in, but I've definitely heard a lot of stories about fairies, and honestly that sounded like a fairy to me. So my next story is from Altruistic Set from Reddit, and it says, Spirit standing at the end of my bed. When I was 15 to 17 years old, I was in bed on my phone listening to music when I heard footsteps coming down the hallway. I thought it was my dad and freaked out because I was meant to be asleep and not on my phone. I tried to turn off the music and hide my phone under the covers, but I couldn't turn it off in time, and I heard my dad's footsteps come up to the end of my bed and stop. I pretended to be asleep, and then when my dad didn't say anything, I turned on my phone light to peek over the covers to see if he was gone. Instead of seeing my dad at the end of the bed, I see this tall man with dark brown hair and a gray blanket wrapped around his shoulders. He looked like he had been caught in the rain. He's drenched and he's staring directly above my bed, looking distant. I try to call out to my dad, but I'm laying in a weird angle and I'm kind of whispering, screaming at this point. And he reached his hand out and grabbed the top of my foot over the covers. I can move my toes, but I can't pull my foot away, and I'm hyperventilating now. At this point, I'm shaking. I'm so scared. I lay back and take a deep breath and peek over the covers, and he's gone. I turned on the light under my bed head and called my friends, super freaked out. They said maybe I had my first experience of sleep paralysis and suggested I try to sleep and take my mind off of it. I decide to sleep with the bed light on, and I wake up and it's off. I asked my dad if he turned it off or if the power tripped, but he said no. But the only way to turn the light off is to reach underneath the bed head and turn it off at the wall, and I don't remember turning it off. I then realized that where the guy was looking was where I had placed my new dream catcher. I had gotten it the night before and it wasn't straight, and I hadn't felt right about it not being straight. So I fixed it and I never seen him again. I also started sleeping on the other side of the bed. Initially, I thought maybe I had sleep paralysis. I'd never had it before though. But I could move my body and my toes. I wasn't pinned. I thought maybe it was a dream, but my music had played continuously. Didn't change at all from me taking a deep breath and him being gone. This wasn't my first scary experience, and it wasn't my last. Thank you so much for that story. If you have more stories, I'd love to hear them. So this last one is one of my own personal stories. So I used to live with my friend, and I used to sleep in the living room on the floor. I'd make a nice little bed on the floor every night. And I always slept with the lights on just because that house gave off like a really eerie feeling. And one night I woke up to noises behind me on the table. And so I opened my eyes expecting to see my roommate back there doing something in the middle of the night, and nobody was there. So I laid back down and I looked at the TV that was turned off, and you could see like the table and the couch and the reflection. Well, someone was sitting on the couch. So I jumped up and I looked again and no one was there. And when I laid back down and looked at the TV, the shadow was gone. The reflection was gone. So I was a little freaked out and nervous, so I turned the TV on so that I couldn't see the reflection and it would drown out that spirit energy feeling, and I went back to sleep. That was a pretty freaky night. So yeah, that's all I have this week. If you have stories, please send them in. I definitely would love to see more of you guys recording your stories, whether it be audio or video. It would definitely help me out. Reading a lot of stories is tiring sometimes, but I love it and enjoy it. So stay tuned. Next week, I'm gonna do an episode about the Hat Man. Yes, I've been collecting stories from you guys for the Hat Man. I got a big episode, and next week I'm also gonna be introducing my new co-host. So stay tuned and have a spooktacular night and keep it creepy.